everyone. Welcome back to Movin' Right Along, a Muppet movie podcast brought to you by toughpigs.com. It's the podcast where we watch The Great Muppet Caper 2 minutes at a time and talk about it a lot. I'm your host, Anthony Strand.
And I'm your other host, Ryan Rowe.
And joining us today is our first guest of the new season, a very special guest indeed. Tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Danny Horn, the original founder of toughpigs.com and Muppet Wiki.
Danny is pretty much our dad.
I will accept that.
All right. We're so thrilled to have you. So today we are looking at minutes 3 and 4 of The Great Muppet Caper, in which we see the end of the opening credits and the beginning of the first song, Hey, a Movie.
Yes.
So,
So I assume that you guys have covered the basics of post-structuralist literary theory like in the first episode. So we can just go on from there. Is that right?
We decidedly have not.
No, not really. No.
Okay. Oh no, I assumed that you had, because like my belief is that you can't really understand The Great Muppet Caper unless you have a graduate degree. Like it's a really complex movie. So would you mind if I can just explain a little bit? Like when I was in college, I got a degree in French literary theory, which is the only way to go. And so this is how I understand how to approach a work of art. So if you guys are okay, like I'm going to explain it. Like I'll start with the basics, which is just the difference between the signifier and the signified. Like it's really easy. So for any word, there's the signifier and the signified. And the signifier is the sound of the word, for example, like the word frog. And the signified is the actual concept that word represents. So there's the word frog, and then there's the concept frog, like an actual material frog, right? And there's no logical connection between that particular sound and that idea, but I can communicate that concept to you because we have this shared agreement that when I say that sound, then it means that concept. So there's this previous negotiation between us where we agree on that. But that's a simple word, and we both speak the same language, so we don't do that explicitly. It's just kind of assumed that we agree. And then post-structuralist literary theory is about looking at a work of art and examining that assumed negotiation between the author of the work and the reader. So let's say like the author of a book says that a woman is beautiful, and your understanding as the reader of what a beautiful woman looks like is then shaped by your cultural context. And the idea that the concept beautiful goes with the concept woman is shaped by your cultural understanding of gender roles. But people don't necessarily agree about these things. So you can ask these questions about how to resolve these tensions between the signifier and the signified to break down these implicit cultural codes. And that's what studying literature is for. So anyway, the reason why I'm bringing it up is that in The Great Muppet Caper, the sound of the word frog does not actually mean the concept of an actual material frog. Like that sound, when we say frog in the movie, it means that it's a puppet that represents a frog, except that it acts human in basically every way. And in this movie, like over the next couple minutes that we're going to talk about, they're going to do an entire musical number to explain that this puppet that represents a frog is actually an actor who's playing a frog that's a newspaper reporter. And he's going to talk us through that entire negotiation between the signifier and the signified. And then when that song is over, they're going to tell us that this puppet representation of a frog who's an actor playing a frog who's a newspaper reporter is identical twins with the puppet representation of a bear who's also an actor playing a newspaper reporter. So frog and bear apparently mean the same thing, which means that signifier, the sound of the word frog, means something completely different from what you thought it did, like in every possible way. And we're only 5 minutes into this movie and they showed this to children. And so so that's why I love The Great Muppet Caper so much. Like I saw this in the theater when I was 10 years old, and that's why I ended up studying post-structuralist literary theory. Like this movie like just completely changed my life.
Wow, what a fantastic beginning.
So
that was me kind of pulling the rope.
Yeah, and here we go.
And starting,
it's going to be terrific.
Talking about this completely insane movie.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for giving our listeners a framework to view the entire rest of this podcast.
Now they don't have to go to college.
No, they can just
You're welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Wow.
So, I mean, I guess goodbye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
No, there's so much to talk about. So this starts with the credits, right?
Right.
We're kind of getting back into that.
And
so that I love that they talk about the credits the way they do. Like they're talking about them. They're like looking at it and talking about it as if it's like this material thing that's in the sky.
Well, and even to the point where when they're about to descend, Kermit says the sky is clear.
Yeah.
As if
which
the
I think
credits
is-
are like a meteorological phenomenon.
Right. I love it. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And speaking of credits, the first one that we see here is for the 4 screenwriters of the movie. So I want to talk about them very briefly, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I'm going. I love the idea that you don't know who Jerry Jewell is, Danny.
Oh, I know Jerry Jewell, but there's a couple of those that I don't actually know that much.
Right. So Jerry Jewell, our listeners may or may not know, he was the head writer of the Muppet Show. He was the head writer of Fraggle Rock later. I think we all agree that Jerry Jewell is one of the great geniuses of comedy.
He wrote most of your favorite Muppet things.
Right. But the one pair of names here is him and Jack Rose, a name that we have never seen on a Muppet thing ever before.
Right.
Or after.
And right before or after. This is actually his final credit.
Yeah.
And he had a career that stretched back to the 40s. He wrote a bunch of Bob Hope movies. Longtime listeners know how much I love Bob Hope, the funniest screen comedian of all time.
Longtime listeners know that Anthony is being sarcastic.
I don't care for his antics. But Jack Rose wrote Road to Rio, My Favorite Brunette, Seven Little Foys, a bunch of Bob Hope movies. But more interestingly for our purposes, I think, he wrote the 1949 movie It's a Great Feeling, which is a comedy from Warner Brothers about actors Jack Carson and Dennis Morgan as themselves going to the Warner Brothers lot to complain that they don't get enough work. And it has cameos from Edward G. Robinson, Joan Crawford, Ronald Reagan, Gary Cooper, Danny Kaye, Muppet Show guest star Danny Kaye.
It's a Great Feeling. So it sounds like the Muppet movie then is kind of It's a Great Feeling fan fiction.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's not a staggering work of genius or anything, but it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
And I kind of want because there's a Jim's Red Book article about this that we will link to in the show notes. But Jim Henson met with him and for whatever reason wanted this old time gag man Jack Rose to write the first draft of the script with Jerry Jewell.
Oh, that's great.
And it definitely gives it a different flavor from the Muppet movie.
Yeah, it's interesting too, considering that Jim already had these ideas about sort of like adventure and intrigue that you wouldn't necessarily think like the guy who wrote the Bob Hope movies would be the right guy for that.
Right. It's weird because he wrote Road to Rio, so why not get him to write the Muppet movie? That's a road movie, I guess.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Right. But it sounds like he really wanted this kind of like weird meta comedy to it that we are enjoying so much.
Yeah. And then the other 2 credited screenwriters are Tom Patchett and Jay Tarsis, who they wrote some other movies, but they're best known for their work in television. They were the showrunners for the Bob Newhart Show during its best seasons. They co-created Buffalo Bill, starring Dabney Coleman, starring future Muppet movie villain Dabney Coleman, which is one of those shows that comes up on lists where TV critics talk about it like it was so dark and daring. This was a network sitcom where the main character was a jerk in the 80s, so it was a big deal.
The big deal about that TV show, which I remember, was that you weren't supposed to like Dabney Coleman's character. That was a big deal. That it was kind of a dark comedy where you weren't supposed to like the main character, which is totally at the time. It was like the Mary Tyler Moore Show was kind of like the classic show, or the Bob Newhart Show, where you're supposed to love the main character and just fall in love with them completely. So it was supposed to be this really it was that we didn't have
you didn't have your Arrested Development,
you didn't have Arrested Development or House of Cards,
I was gonna say, especially on cable and streaming now, there's so many unlikable protagonists.
Yeah, Breaking Bad. It's kind of so that's what we now think of as modern TV, and that show, as far as 1980s sitcoms go, they were going into that area, so it was a big deal at the time.
Right, and then so which is interesting to me is after that show, Tarsis and Patchett broke up. Jay Tarsis went on to create some other well-regarded failures, like the Slap Maxwell Story, also starring Dabney Coleman, and Tom Patchett went on to create Elf.
All right.
He had so much fun working with puppets. He wanted to stick with puppets.
I was going to say this is his first puppet work, and then he created Elf. But I just think it's fascinating that like they went their separate ways, and one of them was like, "Yep, I'm going to keep trying to make this dark network sitcom thing happen," and the other one said, "Yep, an alien who cracks wise and hates the dad that he lives with
and eats cats." Yeah,
hey, that's pretty dark.
That's true. That's true.
So do we know anything? Do you know anything about like why they were called in to do like I guess a second draft, like a fix?
Well, the Jim's Red Book article that I looked at today says that Jim felt that the Jerry Jewell Jack Rose script needed help.
Yeah,
so
he didn't like
Tarsis.
it. There's some stuff about that in the biography by Brian J. Jones also. He just like he got the script from Jewell and Rose and just was kind of like, this isn't really what I'm looking for.
So, and what I think is fascinating is that this article said that the Jewell Rose script was called Muppets Hit the Road, and the Patchett Tarsis script was called The Good, the Bad, and the Muppets. And then the movie that we have is like a composite of both of those scripts together.
Yeah, that's why you have Tom Patchett ampersand Jay Tarsis and Jerry Jewell ampersand Jack Rose.
Right. But what's interesting is that it makes Jerry Jewell and Jack Rose look like a comedy team, like a writing team. You know, like what Patchett and Tarsis were. I don't know. It's fascinating. Right. It's fascinating, maybe to only me, but
no, that's interesting. I didn't really know that.
Fascinating to at least 5 other people, I guarantee you.
Right.
Yeah. And
so anyways, through that odd combination of writers, we end up with like I feel like it's a weird writing situation, and we end up with a very weird movie. So it's fitting.
That kind of does that does make a little bit of sense of like how kind of weird, and actually I guess like the thing that's so odd about this movie is they keep like trying to top themselves. Like every time it gets meta, then like the next thing that happens is like even more so.
Right.
They keep reminding you that they know they're in a movie.
Yeah.
Right. And so then the next credit that we see is produced by David Laser and Frank Oz.
Yes.
And I'm sure our listeners all know who Frank Oz is. If they don't, why are you listening to this? Like, go watch something Frank Oz was in or made.
He's the guy who directed The Indian in the Cupboard.
That's his best known work. Yes.
And what about
Blues Brothers star Frank Oz?
Yes.
And David Laser was the producer, one of the producers of the Muppet Show, also.
Yeah, he is said to be kind of he was the liaison to the guest stars, so he would kind of walk them through the process of like, here's what it's going to be like to work with the Muppets, here's what you're going to do on the show. So that was kind of his job on the Muppet Show. And
he's also best known for his name is a magic word in. Let me see. It's first in the Linda Carter episode, but also the Tony Randall episode, right? Rizal Evad Gibb.
Yeah.
Big Dave Laser backwards.
Right.
You just every time I say that's what he's known for?
That's what he's best known for.
That's what he's known for to us.
That really is 5 people.
But we should also mention that he also produced Emmett Otter, the Muppet movie of Muppets and Men, The Dark Crystal, The Muppets Take Manhattan, Labyrinth, and one of those compilation videos called Fozzie's Muppet Scrapbook. So he did a lot of work with Jim Henson.
Yeah. When I think of great Muppet projects, I think of Rizal Evad Gibb producing Fozzie's Muppet Scrapbook.
Exactly.
So then we get one final credit. The last credit is directed by Jim Henson. And like we talked about last time, this is his film debut. This is his feature debut.
And that's the moment when Fozzie says, "Does anyone even really read these names?"
Right. Which is awesome. So good.
It's lovely.
Great timing.
Well, and of course, Kermit's response is they all have families, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Do you remember? It's in the commentary track for Muppets from Space during the end credits when they're watching all the names go by, and Kermit says, "Hey Gonzo, you know all these people have families," and Gonzo says something like, "So what?" or "Who cares?"
Yeah, that's not bad.
It was a fun callback.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think about that all the time while watching credits.
Yes.
Like, I gotta like. I think that this movie is the reason that I always stay through the credits when I watch movies, because it's like they all have families. I gotta pay them my respects.
Yeah, when you're going to a big blockbuster and there are like 300 names of visual effects artists.
Right.
Well, now they bribe us to do that by giving us Samuel L. Jackson at the end of it.
Yeah.
Right.
They hadn't invented that yet, but when they made the Great Muppet Caper, so
Well, Samuel L. Jackson was around, but I guess they just didn't think to call him in.
No,
that's right. I think I have nothing. He existed. Yeah, he wasn't famous. So what does happen
yes.
is that Kermit tells Fozzie to pull the rope so that they can start the movie. And then the balloon descends onto a set. Actually, let's talk about this. It's a set, right? It's Pinewood Studios. It's not a London street, correct?
Well, there's one shot where you can actually see the balloon descending behind some buildings. That looks to me like a real location. So I think that is probably Albuquerque, where they were shooting the rest of these balloon segments in the air. So if anyone lived in Albuquerque in 1980 and thinks they can identify these buildings, please let us know.
But then clearly they land in like New London City,
right?
Like ridiculously a set. And so I think this is like kind of what I was saying about the post-structuralist aspect of this movie, that it's constantly calling attention to how artificial it is and how fake it is. And in like sort of as a contrast to in the Muppet movie, the whole idea was let's get the Muppets like out of the set and out into the real world.
Yeah.
And what they're doing this time is like falling down from the real world into what is obviously like a ridiculous movie set.
They're entering the world of motion picture artifice.
Yeah, of like musical comedy now. This is
the thing. The thing is that when I was a kid, it never would have occurred to me that this wasn't a real city street. But when I look at it now, my reaction is, wow, it's so brilliant that they just went for it and made this a fake looking city street.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, when I was in high school, I didn't notice that Stars Hollow was a set either.
Right.
On Gilmore Girls. And that is this town from The Music Man.
And many other things.
A film I saw many times as a child.
It's also the town from the Disney TV movie Mr. Boogedy.
And basically that is like, that's where they've landed, is kind of on the back lot.
Right, exactly.
In a street that does not really look like a real street at all. And like instantly, it's not like sort of in the Muppet movie where people would try to react kind of naturalistically as if like the characters who appeared were real characters. Like automatically everyone is like mugging for the camera, and like there's too many people in the shot, and like the guy with the basketball is like really making sure that that he has a basketball.
Well, and the guy with the basketball starts shooting hoops at a painter's scaffold.
He throws the basketball right at the painter.
No reason. Like, it's amazing.
It's because like I am a background actor playing the role of a guy with a basketball, and so I will now because the camera is on me, I will now do my basketball thing, and that's kind of how everybody acts for the whole sequence.
Well, and I just like that their costumes are sort of timeless, but they're just sort of these old fashioned movie extra types. Like there's a mail carrier, a nurse, an old lady, a kid with a skateboard, a construction worker, a man in a business suit. It's just like all the extras that you would expect to see.
And a woman with a baby mustache.
Right.
Yeah, the only thing I think they're missing is a cowboy and a nun.
Right. Like a spaceman.
But so far we haven't talked about a movie. This song during all of this, which helps with that effect so much, because the Muppet movie, like you say, here's Kermit in a real swamp. Here's Kermit sitting on a log, playing his banjo, singing this like simple, wistful, beautiful, gorgeous song about his hopes and dreams to himself. And here we have just like Kermit, Fozzie, and Gonzo land in a hot air balloon, hop up, start singing this song about how fake everything is, and the million people around them all join in very loudly. It couldn't be farther away from the Rainbow Connection.
Yeah.
And just like right into our face.
Right.
We are insisting. I know you bought a ticket and you're sitting there facing the screen. You might not be aware of the work of art you're about to see.
And they even say you paid the money. Wait and see.
Yeah, it happens to be a movie. Just so you know, this is your intro.
Right. Like, a movie isn't a very Muppet film. I mean, it's a lot of humans, But such a nice touch, I think, is that at one point the vegetables pop up to sing, starring everybody, right? Which is like the sign that every Muppet you can think of is going to appear in this film. Which wasn't true for the Muppet movie outside of the projector rooms.
Yeah,
you know, it was like that core group.
We talked about that where it was like Kermit was just sort of encountering just a few Muppets along the way, and when he did it, it felt like an unusual thing or a special thing. But yeah, that's a good point. That the vegetables, their presence in this number is sort of announcing like this movie takes place in a world where there can be Muppets anywhere.
Right.
It's like what they do with the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
It's the same opening up. Like it comes down through this set, and then the first thing that you know that kind of lets you know this is a Muppet movie is all of a sudden it's like 100 random background extra Muppets.
Right. You got your Pops walking around and Droop and all those.
Yeah, your little mice and stuff.
I also like how surprised the vegetable vendor looks to see the vegetables start singing.
They must have known.
He didn't know he was in the Great Muppet Caper until they started singing.
I guess
not. Until just that moment. And something that I think is funny is like as soon as they say, "Hooray, we've landed, here it is, we're beginning," like all of a sudden everything behind them starts to go badly.
Yeah,
like that's the moment when like they, he throws the basketball and it like falls on the painter's little stand, and then the painter kind of slips, and just like immediately things are going wrong.
Right. Yeah. Well, and like Sweetums knocks over a guy with a street cleaning cart.
Yes, and falls into the manhole.
And falls into a man. Well, and what I love about Sweetums falling into a manhole is we see Richard Hunt as a cab driver right before that.
Yeah.
Which is the first of four Muppeteer cameos in the film.
You know who his passenger is?
That's
don't. Kathy Mullen.
Is it? I never noticed.
It's just such
I've
a
always
split
been so
second.
Focused on Richard.
I don't think I ever knew it until maybe somebody took a screenshot of the Blu-ray or something like that. But yeah, she's you barely see her, but she's there.
So Richard Hunt is the Muppeteer who plays like Scooter and Sweetums. We explained who David Lazer is. I figure we did this. And then Kathy Mullen played Gaffer in The Muppet Show, and then Moki Fraggle and Fraggle Rock is kind of
right. And I got to give a shout out to my girl Cotter Pindoozer. So she was Cotter Pindoozer.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding us to do that, Danny. Not everyone is at our level of nerdery.
Yeah. Right. But that's. Please go ahead.
Well, I was going to say. Ryan, you need to cut some of this out.
We're so excited to talk about this.
We do love this movie so much. Officially, Anthony,
Richard,
I cede my time.
Richard is in the cab, and then we see Sweetums come running, and I was looking for it. I don't think that Richard is in the cab anymore. We see the cab, but I think that there's no driver because Richard Hunt is playing Sweetums now. Did either of you guys notice that?
You know what, Anthony? That was the exact thing that I was just about to say at the same time.
Wow.
This podcast is working perfectly.
Absolutely.
So
because he had to disappear from his job as a cab driver to become a monster.
Yes, immediately, and then fall down a hole. Yeah, so that's just more of that like crazy, like they're just really trying to be as artificial as possible, and then but for Richard Hunt and Sweetums, like that's like an Easter egg. Only the Muppet fans would know.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun for us. My question though is like, what is Sweetums actually doing? He's running down the street saying, "Hey, you." Is he mad because that other car hit the chicken cart that Gonzo was riding on, or what?
That never occurred to me.
Yeah, I don't know. He maybe he wants to get our attention. Maybe he's trying to call to us, the audience.
Well, now that I think about it, like we do know why Sweetums like runs towards a movie screen, right? He wants to break through and go, "Hey, you!" He still actually thinks he still thinks it's a Muppet.
Oh, he's still trying to catch up with the guys.
Yeah, he's still running.
He ran all the way to London.
Wow.
He ran all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, or all the way across the Pacific Ocean, and around the world to across Asia and Europe to London.
That's a long run.
Fakey New York, London City.
I did want to note in the July 22nd, 1980 draft of the screenplay, a lot of this like physical comedy stuff that Sweetums is doing is just given to a character that's just referred to as a man. Like it's a man who falls down the manhole, a man who gets his finger stepped on, I think. So at some point they decided that it would be funnier if it happened to Sweetums, and they were correct.
I think that's right. I think that was a good idea. Yeah. Speaking of physical comedy from the Muppets, worked off of that chicken cart, which I believe you mentioned, Ryan. Always looks to me like he's dead. His little body looks so mangled. And then which to me like makes it funnier when he then sits up and says, "It's okay, I landed on my head."
Yes. Yeah.
Well, just one movie later, the same thing will happen to Kermit, and he'll get amnesia. But Gonzo is sturdier, I guess.
Yeah, that sets up the indestructible Gonzo thing of kind of later on in the movie when he's just throwing himself into the street.
Yes.
Right, which doesn't really come up much in the Muppet movie. You know, there's not a lot of Daredevil Gonzo in that movie.
He's just weird. He's not such a daredevil or a masochist.
Well, it's the balloons. He's swinging on the balloons. That's his big stunt.
Right, true.
Here they actually just take him and they just start throwing him around the screen.
For our entertainment.
Yeah.
So great. So actually that Sweetums falling down the manhole is the end of these 2 minutes. So before we go, do either of you have any final thoughts? Danny, I'll start with you.
Yes, I think the big question kind of like that this sets up then is whether this is actually a street or not. I don't know why. I thought that would be great to like set up the next episode. Like this is now going to be like our literary theory investigation.
Do you have an answer for that question?
It doesn't. That didn't work as a cliffhanger at all.
No, it really.
I do, really but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in 2 minutes, I guess.
We'll talk about it next time. Yeah. All right. Ryan, how about you?
The only other thing I wanted to mention is that Kermit, Fozzie, and Gonzo in the hot air balloon is one of the scenes that was depicted on the 4 McDonald's Great Muppet Caper glasses.
Yes.
So I guess I'll be counting those down. So here's McDonald's glass number 1, the hot air balloon. Also, if anyone has that glass at home, don't drink out of it. There is lead paint in it.
Oh man, I thought you were about to say like drink a toast with that.
No, do not drink a toast. Drink a toast with a different glass.
Please don't do that.
If you are a Gonzo imitator like myself, you will drink out of it because you're living on the edge, man.
Yes, if you're like Gonzo, you'll grind it up and eat it.
Luckily,
this is what I want. Not my boss.
When I was a kid and I had those glasses, I wouldn't let anybody drink out of them because I didn't want anybody to break it.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's why I made it here. What a lucky escape.
That's really lucky. Yeah.
All right. On that note, I think on the note of Danny's a lucky escape, we will close for this time. Before we go, be sure to follow Tough Pigs on. You'll find us at toughpigs.com, but follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are all over the place. You can follow me on Twitter at Zeppo Marxist. You can follow Ryan at @MeRyanRowe. And Danny, remind the folks where they can find you online.
You can find me. I have a blog called Dark Shadows Every Day, which is about a 1960s vampire soap opera. And I'm writing about every single episode until it stops. And then also I have a YouTube channel that folks can check out. I posted a new talk that I gave called The Thingmaker and the Burning of the American Child, which is about dangerous toys. If you go on YouTube and you search for that, Thingmaker and the Burning of the American Child, then you'll find me, and there's a couple other videos too.
I'm going to check that out.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, you'll like them.
All right. So that brings us down to the end. Absolutely. Thank you for being here. And we'll see you next week, I believe. Correct, Danny?
All right, great. I can't wait.
All right, awesome. So listeners, if you're so inclined, give us a positive review on iTunes and tell all your friends to listen to the show. And join us again next week for another episode of Movin' Right Along. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.